Hello people, it's your girl Karina, aka Eye of Karina. Welcome back to my channel. Let me just get this together. Woo! Bloop! Here we go. Lilith in the signs. In this video, I'm going to give you my breakdown of Lilith in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is the sign of the twins, right? And what are twins? Twins are these two aspects that look exactly alike, right? And yet they are two completely different people. This is important to understand with this Lilith energy. What is Lilith? Lilith is dark feminine energy, chaotic, right? Within all of us, we harbor feminine energy. So this is for male or females. The key with understanding Lilith is that Lilith is not something that you just show off to others on a regular basis. This is not energy that you like that is seen as often as like your sun sign and your rising and your moon is felt by you. Lilith energy is triggered energy. Okay, now it's usually seen a little bit more like if you have natal placements, personal planets next to your Lilith, like the sun, Mercury, if it's on the rising, if it's in the 10th house, things like that. Okay, now typically Lilith is something that requires like a provocation, like it requires something, a situation or a person, a type of person to make it come out of you, right? The dark feelings to come out of you. Lilith wants to create chaos and reacts in the need of creating chaos due to feeling forsaken, due to feeling like an outcast, to not belonging. And man, the thing about Lilith energy is that it can be used for the betterment, right? But there are levels to it. So the first level I would say is like the darker energy. It's like pure chaos. And I don't want to pin good or bad to this, but the whole idea of us being on earth is that we are utilizing feminine and masculine energy. So when we're dealing with just pure feminine energy, we are out of balance to a degree. Okay. Now, the next level is maybe one where you're more of a victim and you are weak at this next level. You're not necessarily forceful in your dark chaotic energy, but you're maybe not necessarily using it for your highest good either. No, you're more like passively being attacked. Okay. And then the high level would be using it for good. Okay, now how do you get to the highest level? If you want to just shortcut everything, the biggest thing is to understand is the awareness of the energy within you and when it is happening and making a sovereign choice at that moment on how you want to be or who you want to be. The more awareness that you have, the more ability that you have to not succumb to the tendency of overreacting and or being a victim, okay? Unless you like to overreact, create chaos, and be victims. Okay, so Lilith in Gemini is all about utilizing the power of words. And words are really something that requires an extension out of us. Like it is something that is beyond just animalistic nature. Words has intellect behind it, right? Here's the thing though. Those twins in the Gemini energy, they play different roles even though they look the same. So it's very possible that you could be seen as not being very witty at all. You could be seen as very dumb and naive, and you could also be seen as being very smart. You could show off one or the other. And you may do this with your words. So you can provoke people to feel like they think that you're completely an idiot, or they might think that you are, a godly being from another dimension or universe or parallel earth. There's something about this energy that is playful, in which you recognize the duality that you have within yourself, even though you're playing that role, okay? And this comes out of feeling like you don't belong or wanting to belong to certain types of situations. Like, for instance, friendships is typical for a lot of Lilith and Gemini, as well as Lilith and Aquarius or air signs. Um, but also, like with siblings, wanting to belong to your sibling or be, attached to your sibling. You can have very strong feelings towards your siblings, some that aren't necessarily typical. You could have situations with neighbors, with people like on your block, like, on your street where you live. You could have situations with like people online where you're dealing with this need of belonging, and yet there is this overall theme of being different, of being an outcast. And here comes now the playful trickster of Lilith and Gemini that utilizes words to show one side of themselves, right? So maybe they show off a part of themselves that seems to be naive and dumb, or maybe they show the true godly wisdom part of themselves, right? And this can also be very provocative in sexual innuendos as well. They could often be the type that plays off of, all the metaphors when it comes to sexy talk. They can attract people who also want to play off of those metaphors. And whatever twin you're using at that time could showcase like how the other people react to you. So if you are showing that you're more dumb, and then you have these sexual innuendos that you're using, then people might be like, this is like somebody I can take advantage of sexually, right? So those are certain things that can happen. Now, Gemini is a young energy, right? Aries, Taurus, Gemini, they're young. So a lot of this starts to happen even very early in life, where you're playing off of these two different types of personalities and people are able to see it. The other thing that happens and can happen with Lilith and Gemini is that they could be a victim of like a rumor or a slander or just a lot of gossip, like in high school or junior high school, right? But let's go with high school. Um, and it can often be tied around um, some sort of sexual partner or some sort of like thing about them and their sibling or thing about them and their family. So they are very prone to that. You're very prone to being a victim of gossip, but you can also be the dark chaotic type that creates gossip and slander on someone else. You could be the type that maybe you see it as truth, right? But you twist it in which you're sharing something that is, it's almost like a new life to the truth. And uh, it could very much be about your sibling, right? You could have issues with your neighbors or the people on your block where you're talking things about them, saying things about them. Um, and it can be something that can mess up certain people's reputation. Now, in your highest form, you can recognize when gossipers are at bay and you can slice them out and handle them to your best um, verbal ability. So you're depending on which level that you operate on will be dependent on how that outcome happens for you. Especially the more chaotic energies are going to fall into a lot of drama and a lot of gossip. The thing is also that you might be the type that wants what somebody else has, and this can often be somebody who, in their feeling of being pushed out, let's say you are in a romantic relationship and you break up or something like that, and then you see the person that you're with somebody else. You have a great ability to want and bring that person back to you through the use of friendliness, charm, right? The dual side of your nature, of naivety, where there's nothing going on. But underneath that, you may have the desire to want to get that person back or take what no longer belongs to you. And so this can happen in love relationships and partnerships. And you could create and stir up things amongst other relationships, even if with friends, if you want like a certain friend, or you're dealing with feeling like you don't belong to certain groups of friends. You could utilize the power of words to naively stir up drama. Now, it appears naively, but like I said, the twins within that Gemini energy, there's definitely a wisdom and a wittiness that is happening, but it might output as naive. Or you use the other twin and you straight up use that intellectual part of your nature to just create slander and gossip about your friends or try to break up friendships. These are some of the aspects that can happen in the chaotic nature. So, for the highest good, you are ending slander, and you're bringing the message, the true message, or your truth. And that's very different than somebody else's, like your perspective of somebody else and what you think they're doing right or wrong, right? So, a Lilith and Gemini, if you meet the need of going to your highest good, you can be somebody who shares your truth, whether people believe it or not, and put it out there into the world versus talking about other people and bringing that out into the world. Remember, the idea of good and bad is not necessarily what I want to bring to you. What I want to bring to you are the options that are present for you to choose from. And the biggest thing that I also feel Lilith and Gemini need to understand is how powerful words are, because they aren't animalistic. So your animalistic reaction is tying to something that is beyond just the beast. It is something that shows off our elevated nature, right? Words. And then at the same time, words can supply the lower mind. So you're constantly and given the fruit to use it as you wish, and you can often be the victim or the savior, right? The helper of those who are dealing with the the words being used against them. So that is Lilith and Gemini, and there's so much more to be said about this. And in all of my Lilith videos, I'm going to be having a description where I go into more detail as more things are channeled to me. But that is your Lilith in Gemini, and thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace and love.